I think I've been hearing a lot of good discussion on this corridor. This corridor is something unique. I always say in many of my conferences that, India has what Canada lacks and Canada has what India lacks. So I think we are very complementary democracies, very complementary economies. And this corridor is going to grow by leaps and bounds in whatever happens to US, whatever happens to Europe. But this education corridor of India and Canada will continue to grow. And it is up to us, all of us who are players in this segment, to continue to build this fantastic piece of infrastructure which government has created in Canada to be leveraged for Indian students. So all the best to you. I think we'll discuss more as we go forward. Thank you, Eva.
Thank you, Sandeep ji.
I just want to reflect on some of the conversation, of course, Dr. Thalpade and Dr. Lula actually had. One of the reasons why Canada, and of course, I include Quebec, of course, within the Canada has become a desirable country to visit is because we are taking care of that mind, body, and soul component of the existence of students when they come to Canada. Canada, given that 1.8 million diaspora totally, and of course more than 1 million living here, has created amazing amount of cultural ecosystem as well, that they do not feel that they've actually left India. You have all your major festivities, which is actually taken care of here. You have your Diwali, your Eid, your Christmas, your, of course, Holi, and for a Gujarati guy like me, we also have our Garbas. We actually do our Ras and Garbas as well, and we invite the students to actually participate. And they very quickly realize that this is where the population is very welcoming, the university is very inclusive, and your identity is actually secured and in fact promoted, that we love to actually see different angles for various society who actually makes Canada as a home. So it's an amazing amount of transformation, and that is one of the reasons why, as Apurvaji has mentioned, globally or throughout the country, we have close to about 230,000 students actually coming to Canada because they are amazingly welcome. When I came, again, going back to almost 40 years ago, we actually had even challenges of getting Indian goods. Just being on the ground here in Canada and in Ottawa particularly, and then Ottawa, Toronto, and I think you mentioned about the Montreal. There are so many incredible education centers which has actually incorporated our Indian students. Just going back into some of the conversation we had about community colleges, they are actually incredibly contributing to the Canada-India corridor in terms of education as well. The Algonquin College here is actually in Ottawa, but the Seneca, the Humber, the George Brown of course, in Toronto and its neighborhood. I'm not 100% sure about some of the community colleges in Quebec, but there are colleges again on the eastern country, in Nova Scotia, in Moncton. Then there are many community colleges in actually Vancouver and BC, and we have seen incredible increase of enrollment because what the Indian students are looking for is that skill enhancement and skill development process, then a degree, because they all come with a degree. They have a bachelor's, they have a master's. Some of the, Dr. Lula has mentioned about the IB student, they may come for the graduate or undergraduate program as well, but some of the graduate and undergraduate who have already completed training can essentially come here for the skills development. And it might even be more cost effective because again, the university versus the college fees actually differ for the international student. So what we had done in Ottawa, we actually created the Canadian Association of Students of Indian Origin. It's called CASI. And that has been an incredible organization, which includes the students from Carleton University, students from University of Ottawa, as well as from Algonquin and other small community colleges, so that we can actually blend them together to give them a more comprehensive, just to borrow your word, mind, body, and soul experience in Canada. If Deepakji is still around, I wanted to ask him, the ministry in Ontario recently announced easy access to the skilled workers from various, from the world actually, to come in, to allow them to actually come to our country. I wonder if he wants to actually expand on that a little bit more, because I think he provided some numbers what we are looking for. Other than the medical specialty, which obviously has its own regulations and limitations, all the other job market and entry point has been facilitated now for the people to come to Canada and contribute to the job market. I wonder if he's still there. He wanted to actually say a few words on that.
Absolutely. So, as I said earlier, I'm actually reaching inside the parliament to vote, but I can quickly answer it. Absolutely, we do need a lot of people in the skilled trade, but we also need in the PSWs as well. So that's personal support worker is one area where you don't really need a huge license. And that is something which we are looking and could be an interest for all of you.
Thank you.
So I have a question, especially with reference to the ITIs in India. Are there any bridge courses in order to upskill them to the level expected in Canada?
That will be the question for the colleges, if they have any program. If they don't, I think they should reach out to the federal government requirement and see what is the gap, and they can fulfill those gaps.
Thank you.
Just to add to that conversation, the few years ago, almost 5 years ago, I had actually organized the meeting of the deans of various universities in India and invited them. There were 26 of them actually had come to Canada in understanding, of course, the course material and the development and the training programs, and trying to actually bridge that conversation with what we expect in Canada as well. And it was an amazingly rich conversation, because they could actually explain where they come from in terms of their own course materials. And then we could actually get on to it, saying what we need for them to qualify in entry point as well. Because as you know, from our Canadian educational matrix point of view, we do have the inclusion or admission criteria, which has to be met before one can actually get into it, even if it needs to be in the college. And I think that's what Siksha is doing. I think Siksha is actually trying to give them that understanding of their credentialing, to say where do they actually, within the matrix of the higher education, where do they actually fit in? Not just Canada, but then the US and UK and Australia and all other countries where where Indian students tend to actually go. So that is one platform or arena. I think we all have to engage and work with the ministry as well as the responsible departments, so that we can actually create an easily facilitative process for some of the students to come in.
I completely agree on this, because we have faced similar points for institutes in Quebec, and also where skills which are required in Quebec are concerned, especially once again reference to ITIs where plumbing, electrical work, etc. are taught. But then where security norms are concerned, that becomes a major issue. And that's where the upskilling part comes into play. And well, very honestly, we'll be happy to work in synergy with partners here.
Would like to say something on this. We have in our college, Field College of Professional Studies, we have a very high-skilled course, which is for the early child care education program. And we have been giving this education to women, and they have getting jobs. But at the same time, the women entrepreneurs are also evolved from this program. So we have been helping these women to start their home daycare, licensed home daycare, and they are able to employ one person or two person. So the skill which we have been giving to them, and apparently with that skill, they are able to work in industry as well as they are able to open their own home daycares as well. So this childcare system and childcare education is very popular and also in demand in Canada. So we have these kind of such programs where students are taking admission in this program, and we are able to help them to be financially independent. So skills are really, in today's life, they are very essential. So all our programs, whatever we are running, has an internship factor attached to it, whether it's a customer service or medical office administration or mobile app or any program you say. So we have tied up with many industries in Toronto, in GTA area, where students have been sent to internship practices, and they are even employed in that. So some people, they get employment, some of them even with a software technician and web, we have been helping them to set up their own consulting company. So improving the skills and making them financially independent, where the industry institute come together, jointly work together and help in enhancing the education system here in general.
I just want to say that thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you each one of you for coming together and supporting the global community, not just Canada. When you teach those kids and those kids go out and serve the world, you're serving the whole world. Vasudev Kutumbakam, somebody talked about, you're doing that. So I just want to put my cell number in the chat. Feel free to reach out. Anything we as a Ontario can do, we will be the first one to welcome you. Thank you so much again, and I'm going to be leaving in 30 seconds.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Question with Dr. Pradeep Merchant. Merchantji, we were talking about the core medical and versus the paramedical programs, right? So core medical programs are basically the main programs where they have the major hurdle to get the licensing, to compete the exams, etc., right? Not in Canada, in India also, same.
Hello.
So what is your input to, start some collaborative courses with Indian and Canadian, colleges, maybe community colleges for the paramedical programs, like, how should I say that, for example, pharmacist.
So I think in my presentation, I made a yeah, no, of course. In my presentation, I made a reference to the nursing education, which we have already started. We already had the first batch. Now we are starting the second batch. And I think you just said it, what exactly I'm doing from the second tier and the third tier. We are, in fact, I teach at the university, but a lot of students actually come in for paramedical field as well. Yep. And we are now going to reach out to not only from pharmacy assistant, which you talked about, but we are also going to reach out to respiratory technologists, where we need the respiratory therapists for some of those ventilation, because what pandemic has exposed us, that it is not just the medicine, it's the team you need for you to actually do better, or you actually deliver a better medical care. So we're not just focusing on the medical education, but we are now going into that other therapies, which actually is paramountly important. So yes, I'm working on it right now as we speak. I've already spoken to a couple of university graduates who can actually start to create a program so that Indian students can actually join us virtually just to understand what they are. And then it is possible for them to actually come to Canada as well for their hands-on experience, so they can actually understand what is needed for them to actually deliver the care in India, or even if they wish to actually stay back in Canada. But let me actually tell you one other thing, and I think people usually ask, because I sit at the Royal College about the medicine. And I know there is a lot of licensing requirements, but I've actually given the people opportunity to actually access the medical system in Canada as well. we're talking about the community college to the highest degree of the education, which would be the post-graduation in medicine. So once you've done your medicine and once you've done your specialty in India, you are eligible then to actually do something called super specialty. And Canada provides a very fertile ground for that. We need people to be in the field. Like, for example, I'm a neonatologist. I look after the premature babies. And what I need is the fellows, which are beyond the residency. So you do residency. So you've done a pediatric training, let's say in Delhi or Bombay or in Calcutta. And then you could potentially eligible to apply for a fellowship in neonatology. And then you get trained for 2 years or 3 years to become the subspecialty or subspecialist. And I'm just giving my example, but there are hundreds of those subspecialty opportunities available for the students. Currently, I just accepted husband-wife team. They were actually in Australia, was finishing their 1 year of training, and they've actually just joined me last July, actually, in Ottawa, doing this neonatology fellowship. And they had really no difficulty actually getting in because we want student at that level to come to us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Merchant. Rather, we should all salute to this community called frontliner workers.